Time to talk electronics, and starting with number one, my phone. So it's a Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra 512. So great phone, love it. Worked really well. I have a big case around it, and the thing's a brick, so it's very sturdy, and also it's waterproof. So that part worked out really well. It rode in the rain, it rode in heavy splashes, and only a couple times did the charge port tell me, hey, you've got water in your charge port. And that was great. I just knew to dry it out, and it didn't fry it, so that's great. You'll notice I have a couple of pieces of Velcro here on the back of the phone, and that's because for the majority of the time, my phone rode on the outside of the ski, just Velcroed to the top of the glove box, right by the handlebars. And that worked out really well. Secure, snug, surprisingly well. The other thing is this wrist strap, and if I didn't wear it like I'm wearing it now, it would dangle in the wind. And that was the one thing I noticed on the audio of my videos was, you'd hear it scratching against the case. And so, sorry, wish I would have done that better, but great phone, loved it. Videos, pictures, love the phone. All right, continuing on with the electronics. Somebody noticed pretty early on in the trip that this dude had a lot of electronics going on, and they were right. So the first thing, my red bag, that was always in the ski right here. So easy access. It was dry, of course, being in the hall, but that was always easy access. So what was in there? Well, a number of things. Starting with all kinds of USB cords for charging, etc. Ibuprofen, that was the one medicine that I had always handy just in case my back was tweaking a little bit. Used it early on in the trip, not as much later. Reading glasses, didn't use them much. My eyes are luckily still able to focus in on the small screen most of the time. But anyway, this was a blow-up mattress for... or an air pump for the mattress, various things to clean lenses, boating cards from people I met, my own boating cards, which had a QR code for Facebook and YouTube, and my contact information on there. Headlight, this is for my 12-volt socket that I added. It would tell me the voltage and 2 USB ports. This is an inverter to give me, 120 AC electricity, household electricity. $5 bills. Okay, this was something I learned from other loopers. How much do you tip when you are, at a gas attendant and, at the fuel dock and people are helping you out? And I learned pretty quickly that, it's high school kids and college kids that are working the docks. And based on the other big boats, they'd come in and, a lot of times flip $5 bills. And I thought it would just be hilarious for me to come in on my little jet ski and anybody that helped me at the fuel dock, I'd flip them a $5 bill, especially if they were younger, right? And needing that $5 bill. And the surprise look I got on so many faces of like, oh wow, what's jet skier flipping me a $5 tip? It was worth it. It was great. So always had a ton of $5 bills ready to hand out for tips when I was at the field dock. Wallet, not your traditional leather wallet. I wanted something that, if it got wet, it wouldn't, deteriorate or anything. So it's kind of a plastic wallet that flips open, etc. All right, like a Leatherman multi-use purpose tool type tool there. All right, these were my earbuds that I used, and I purposefully got 2 pair of them because I knew that I would eventually, either ruin one pair or, lose one, or, it would flip out of my hand and fall in the water or whatever. I did not lose them, but what did happen is I think salt water got into the contacts, and I just haven't taken the time to clean them. So they worked all the way up until about the last week of the trip. Worked surprisingly well. They were kind of a, I don't know, $35, $40 pair, not terribly expensive, and they rated so-so, but they worked surprisingly well. And I don't know if you saw, but they were wrap around the ear. They didn't just pop in your ear, they actually wrapped around your earlobe, which is important for going, 35 mile an hour. I wore those in saltwater spray, in the rain. It didn't matter what. I wore them all the time when I was listening to music near other people. I didn't want to blast my stereo, right, and be one of those loud boaters kind of a thing. 2 sets, just in case. All right, working my way to, this guy. This was the original tablet that I had mounted on between the handlebars of the ski, and it was mounted right there. This is a laptop from Sailproof, is the company, out of Belgium. And what is special about it, number one, it is a brick. It is durable, waterproof, and very heavy. And the screen is awesome. It is brighter, way brighter than a typical Samsung tablet, and it can run hotter. So even in direct sunlight and being charged, I never overheated it. It never overheated. So between the brightness of the screen, able to take on additional heat, that thing was amazing. The bad thing is it used battery, and it has a large battery on it, but it would only last about 3 or 4 hours. So I was constantly charging it through the charge port on the side here, and unfortunately, unintentionally, with the charge port open, now it is susceptible to water penetration. And if it was raining, of course, I would not be charging it, but accidental spray eventually got the best of it, and it kind of died a slow death, but the screen now is completely blank. I'm going to be sending it back to Sailproof to see. It's my fault, right? I mean, I'm not looking to get money back or anything like that, but just if they want to look at it and see if there's anything they can do or to help save it or whatever. So in its place, after it died, then I went and got a Walmart Samsung tablet. This had a SIM card of its own. So it had its own data plan, and I didn't have to hotspot. This one does not have its own SIM card. So I had to have this talking to a hotspot on my phone in order for this to get data. And I loved, between the two of them, having Facebook, Messenger, text messages, all of that on large screens right in front of me, and not have to dig to my phone to do those things. So love the concept of this. I put it through misery. It eventually died. The Samsung, not near bright enough. Love the larger screen, but the case here is not meant to be waterproof. It's not near as durable, etc. So love the concept, just need to kind of merge the two together into one great tablet. Charge port. This thing can charge my phone at like 45 watts, which is a lot. Super fast charger. Anyway, okay, for the cameras. So I have an old Hero 4. I used that GoPro. I used that just a couple of times. Didn't really use it much because this Insta360 was just an awesome camera to have. I didn't use it all the time, but I got some amazing shots out of it. People were always saying, man, it looks like you've got a drone following you, or it hides the selfie stick. The software is really good on it. The bad thing about using it is the editing. It's one more thing you have to edit. So I learned to use it sparingly, use it for great shots, and use my phone for about everything else. This is a backup phone to this phone. So it's like a 20 FE. It's not nearly as powerful as the 22 Ultra, but it had its own data plan, and I had it off most of the time until that thing needed a hotspot, and then I used that for a hotspot. So the thought was that if this camera ever fell in the water or got damaged and couldn't take a charge anymore, then I at least always had a communication device, a phone that I could, communicate with. These are 3 USB battery packs, and so you charge them by USB, and then they can charge your other USB devices. I started off having just one, and quickly learned that because this thing was such a power hog, I really didn't want a cord running from it to inside the hull of the ski. So mid-trip, I went and bought 2 more battery packs, and these were great. I would charge all 3 of them at night, and then usually burn through maybe 1 or maybe 2 of them through the day, and always had a 3rd one as a reserve. So those were great to have. It's just simpler to charge stuff off of those, especially if the things that I was charging was outside the hull of the ski. Okay, now on to inside the hull. There was this other box of electronics. All of this supplies for my GoPro and Insta360. Hardly used any of it. If I were to do it over again, the GoPro stays home. The Insta360 comes along. And there's a GoPro Max or whatever, and I'm not trying to, which one's better or anything like that. I'm just saying for me, I probably would have only taken one 360 camera. This is my camp battery. It is a brute, and it can obviously charge quite a few things. And so I use that for camping. I didn't use it for everyday charging off of. I only needed it as my camp battery, but it was with me all the time. Okay, on to my my computer bag. So yes, I had a computer with me all the time. Now, how did I protect a computer from bam, 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 bam? Number one is it was sitting on top of my clothes inside the clothes bag. So the clothes bag was up here, and so the clothes were on the bottom, and this was on the top. Number two, it was inside a soft bag, and then I also had it inside of a Ziploc here, and sorry. Inside here, I learned, before I left, I knew that I needed to protect the screen from the keys. If there was not that felt between the keyboard and the screen, the keys would leave an imprint on the screen, and it would ruin it. So by having this little piece of fleece, essentially, then that protected the screen from the keys, and it also, a little bit of cushion. That worked really well. This is a 3 or 4 year old laptop, and how it took all of that abuse for the entire trip, did not have any troubles with it. Simply amazing. Portable hard drive, 5 terabyte, didn't use it. The 360, I didn't have to copy anything off. I had a 512 megabyte or gigabyte card. Everything's still on there. I backed it up once, I think, but not to the hard drive, just to the laptop. Didn't need it. Everything else that charged by electricity was in the computer bag because I didn't need it on the ski. Toothbrush, laptop, my marine radio, HDMI cord. When I was at hotel rooms and I'm working, that's why I had the laptop, is because I had to work on the trip. I would use HDMI cord and tie into the TV in the hotel room and have a second monitor. That worked out really well as well. Also, Garmin InReach worked amazingly well. Love it. Small battery, lasts a long time. You have to pay a service plan for it in order to, for the messaging and all of that. But every morning I would religiously send out a message on this thing to my family and emergency contacts. I'm on the water, starting my day, things are going great. At the end of the day, I would send another message, and it's just a preset message. It's like you hit 5-6 buttons, boom, the message goes out. And when I was off the water, I would send another message. And then there's the third preset that I had set for I need help, but I never had to press that button. So I can text, email, and then of course the map coordinates. People could look at my map and where am I. I shared that with a few people. I didn't share it with everyone until the very end of the trip. So that worked out really well. And then inside the life jacket was the ACR, and I went over this ACR thing. Basically, it's the Oh No. It's satellite based. You hit a button, and basically the Coast Guard is alerted to come rescue you at a certain GPS coordinate. And then my marine radio here with its own little mic. This worked out super well. So glad I had this. This is a standard Horizon HX890. And then it's like a $50 mic and speaker. There's a speaker inside there as well as the mic. And having that just a little bit closer to my ears was super helpful to hear. It can monitor 2 channels, maybe even 3, I'm not sure, but it definitely can do 2 channels. Love that thing. I could charge it either by 12-volt socket, which if I was on a really long day, I needed to charge it only a couple of times, but otherwise, charge it in the hotel room. The other, one more, and that is the Garmin unit that's on the machine. 7-inch touchscreen, chart plotter, fish finder, and depth sounder all in one. And that worked really well. Number one because it got its electricity from the machine. I never had to worry about charging it. Replacing battery. Didn't have to worry about that at all. Power was always there. And number 2, it was really reliable. About the only thing that I don't like is and people that have these Garmin units probably know the Active Captain and downloading the maps. That could have been a lot better. And it would take over. It wants to talk to your phone via Wi-Fi, and when it does that, it just, that's a little clunky. But otherwise, love that Garmin unit. One more quick one worth mentioning. I used this a lot. This is a 6-port, 2 amp each USB charging station. Plugs into a wall outlet. This was so handy, especially to charge all the USB devices that I had. Definitely worth a mention.